So before I get started, just want to give a very warm welcome. I know Nancy and Abdelaziz, Saddam. So how has Twitter's algorithm changed and how do we use it, most importantly, to drive growth and profits? We're all here to build businesses. And the first reference that I'm going to be using is going to be this account, this influencer called Whale Swoosh. So I'm going to be referencing him all over this presentation. And the reason for that is that Whale Swoosh is a great case study because he has been active over the last 5-6 months in the NFT space, consistently showing up day in, day out, day in, day out. And his content hasn't changed. However, what happened to him is what I like to say, he got lucky, where with the definition of luck being when opportunity meets preparation, this is where you get lucky. So the Twitter algorithm changed around the beginning of January. And this is where we saw his Whale Swoosh pretty much explode into becoming the #1 most influential NFT influencer in the space, right behind Frank D. God. And the second case study we're going to be using is obviously your homeboy Leon. Part of it is I'm always trying to experiment. I often fail, but I do think I've been doing pretty well myself. You know, account's been growing. It's not a lot, but it's honest work. So I'm also going to be sharing throughout the presentation, you know, some of the things I've been doing that I've noticed actually on my account have been yielding better results. Let's boil it down into very simple terms. There are 3 main things that have changed in the Twitter algorithm. The game has changed, and they all boil down to those 3 things that I'm going to be covering. Number 1, we've seen an enhanced tie strength within the Twitter algorithm. I'm going to explaining what that means. Number 2, we're going vertical, baby. And finally, rent is due. We actually need to start paying our way, and no longer can we live rent-free on the Twitter platform. So let's talk about the first one, enhanced tie strengths. So tie strength is pretty much, there's this concept in social media where different accounts are tied to one another, and the more tied accounts are together, the more often you're going to start showing up on the feed. Previously, in the old Twitter algorithm, tie strength used to be very based around likes and retweets. Those were kind of the factors that had the heaviest weight in terms of, you know, pushing content, likes and retweets. However, what we're seeing is that we're seeing a big shift away from likes and retweets and more towards comment sections, towards the comment, higher quality comments. So Twitter is moving away from retweets and likes and towards comments. So that means that no longer are going to be the engagement farming content types that we see all over Twitter that I would say make the Twitter experience pretty shallow, pretty vague, and often easily to bot. I think that is the reason why we're moving away from that, is engagement farming is real on Twitter and it doesn't create high quality conversation. So all the GMs and the who's active right now and the first 1,000 people to react will get X. Those are all going to be disappearing. And what's new is going to be creating content optimized to drive quality engagement over surface engagement. So I was actually asked this today, speaking with a lovely lady, project founder. She was asking me, but Leon, I have very little time. I have a kid. How do I create good content that engaged? And this is where I took her through a variation of, these are the top 5 types of content that are going to help us drive higher quality engagement and increase the tie strength that other accounts have with us. So the first one is question tweets. Who's the top NFT project founder in the NFT space? Number 1, trend tweets. Very important one. And I'm going to be showing you how Swoosh has been using that to his advantage. But anyways, trend tweets talking about the latest, hottest, up-to-date event happening in Web3 and global, whatever it is that your niche or product is talking about. Celebration tweets, that is one that as NFT project founders, all of us here, I think that is one we should start adding to our arsenal of tweets, celebrating small milestones, no matter how small, how big they are, you know, putting the focus on the community, thanking them by highlighting what our achievements are and milestones we've achieved. Listicle tweets. So this is where we kind of break things down into lists. So listicle, this is where, for example, last time I spoke about the 3 things every NFT project founder needs. You know, active founder, storytelling, and, you know, a hint of utility without giving out too much. So anything that looks like a list tends to perform very well. And finally, personal story tweet. That is one I often use in the NFT space, and I've noticed that is the one kind of drives the most loyalty, the most engagement. Here's the interesting part. and this is the biggest change I would say to the tie strength for Twitter accounts. No longer can people at the top just stay at the top and ride off their early their early entrance, their early ticket that they had into the platform. Now, what has become more important than getting engagement has actually become engaging. And let me show you this. I'm going to skip a couple. But here are the different types of ties that exist on Twitter. And this is something I saw on Twitter. So a weak tie is when you follow another account. It's a pretty weak tie. A semi-strong tie is when you follow an account and they reply back to you. A strong tie is when you both follow each other. And finally, the strongest type of tie is when you both follow each other and you both reply to each other. And when this happens at scale, then all of a sudden you're going to see that your organic reach is going to start skyrocketing. Because all of you here, you all know that you've gone through our strategies. We tell you that engagement is key on Twitter. So imagine doing that 500 times a day, 500 replies per day, and you're engaging with people that both follow you, reply back to you. All of a sudden, you have a 500 guaranteed impressions right there on your tweets without even doing anything, without creating good content. And this is something, going back to Whale Swoosh, this is something he has been doing exactly because although his follower count has gone parabolic, he has been maintaining a constant pace of tweeting every day, tweeting about 500 times every single day in, day out. Let's take an example. So while preparing for this presentation, I saw this little tweet by NFT God. So you are fed with a lot of BS in Web3. And what I noticed is the top accounts right here. You can see the level of engagement, of impressions that they have. So in the reply section, you can see that the first account has almost 4,000 impressions. The second one has 2.1K. So a lot of the emphasis has shifted away from engagement towards the reply section. And this is where, actually, funny enough, literally preparing for this, I saw Whale Swoosh made this tweet. It was 10 minutes ago when I saw it. So you know what? I decided to reply on it and test my own hypothesis. And guess who the #1 comment was on that tweet 30 minutes in? It was your boy Leon with 200 impressions while that tweet had 10K. Now, here's the funny part, and I don't know how that happened, or if that was not timed, that was not anticipated. Guess who the second highest ranking tweet reply was? You guys won't believe this. It was actually our homeboy Kermit. Unknowingly, we both had commented on Whale Swoosh around the same time, and we were both the top ranking comments on there, just because we follow the fundamentals of what's been working. So, action steps for all of us here. #1, optimizing content away from engagement farming towards quality engagement. #1, craft quality replies on other accounts. Ride off other people's organic reach. Ride off other people's virality, and you're going to go viral yourself. Okay? So that's the change #1. Change #2, we're going vertical, and it makes a lot of sense. Long format is in, and this is actually what inspired me. My reply guy, going back to the reply guy, he actually pointed this out to me. He was like, okay, Leon, so I noticed something interesting about your profile. Last time you made a thread and it had 2,000 impressions, which is relatively good for the size of my audience. And it had about 32 likes, 6 retweets. And then he compared that to that tweet that had 49 likes, 4 retweets, and 7 comments. So it almost had double the engagement, but it almost had half the reach. So what that means is all of a sudden, a lot more engagement, a lot more reach is being given, is being moved towards threads. And it all makes sense because Elon Musk said it himself. We're going to start seeing ads happening. So creators are going to start earning money from ads placed within the threads. And Twitter right now is all pushing monetization. Elon has a $46 billion mortgage to pay on that Twitter deal he made. And he's definitely pushing on monetizing. So from what I've noticed, 80% of the results come from the success of a thread happen with the hook. And this is something I learned with email marketing, for example, back in my Web2 days. What gets an email open is the hook. And a good hook is going to get people clicking. And the same principle applies on Twitter. Because something I've noticed is the performance of a thread is very dependent on how much people click on it and then go to the next thread. So the next answer right there. And from my numbers that I've noticed at a small scale, I tend to see it a 17 to 20% click-through rate. So about 20. So if my first tweet has 2K impressions, the next one will have 20% of that, so 400. So I've looked at the numbers for Whale Swoosh. Obviously, when you start hitting the 250,000, 500,000, the quality of your audience diminishes, so the click-through rate decreases. However, this is what is considered a good click-through rate in the eyes of Twitter at scale. So about 7.2%, 6.6%, 8.2%, 9%. So those, of course, are at scale. From my personal experience, anything above 15% means that you've done a good job with the hook. Last time we actually had Miguel from Experts ask us about feedback about his thread. And I went in, and this is the only metric I looked at. How many people converted into becoming readers? And for him, it was about 8%. I remember I was like, hey, here's our weakness. This is what we have to improve from next time. Now, important question that has gone through almost every gentleman's mind is, does size matter? And unfortunately, in Twitter, it does seem like it. So if we look at Whale Swoosh, thread number 1, 15 tweets within that thread, 17, 16, 16, 16, 16. So we're seeing a pattern here. The top performing threads of Whale Swoosh all have 16, between 15 and 17 tweets within it. So it's starting to sound like that is the golden ratio, aiming for around 16. And that makes sense because the thread I made earlier that I showed that had those 2K impressions, it was around that mark. A couple of other observations about threads. So thumbnails all of a sudden start to matter. Before, Twitter used to deboost whenever you had a GIF, an image, or a video on your tweet. Now, what we're starting to notice is some of the biggest players are actually starting to use thumbnails. And so now that means thumbnails are in. Number 2, something I noticed specifically about Whale Swoosh, always using the down emoji in yellow. It's kind of giving people call to action. It's telling them to do something and it catches your attention. And then obviously thread count, about 16 total tweets. Make sense? Final point, and this is for everyone here who isn't in Twitter Blue. It's literally written in the product description. By having Twitter Blue, you will skyrocket to the top of the reply section. Like, it's written in the product. This, for a lot of time, was a conspiracy. Is that actually a thing or not? But yes, your engagement reach will change with Twitter Blue. So a lot of you here who are based in, if you're not in the UK, Germany, Canada, US, and I might be missing a country, Australia, you probably don't have access to Twitter Blue. So avoid point number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Point number 3 is one that does work. It works for me, which is using Pipeline. So you're gonna notice if you run more than one account and you want to verify more than one account, you're gonna need different credit cards or different debit cards. So you can't verify 2 accounts with the same card. So not all of us have, unlimited cards. So this app called Pipeline is amazing. Actually, I didn't know about it. You can actually create unlimited MasterCards. You do have to KYC. You can create unlimited MasterCards and you can top up your account using crypto or regular fiat money. And that'll pretty much allow you to create unlimited amounts of cards. With that, I already have 3 accounts verified. So that's a handy trick right there. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna start seeing a lot of social media platforms adopt this. We recently had Instagram and Facebook introduce paid verification, or it's in beta mode, I believe in Korea or Japan. So they are testing that, and we are going to see a lot more social media platforms adopt this pay to rank type of model. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 things that we have to implement right now as NFT project founder and as people who want to build audiences, build community, and sell out our collections. Number 1, engage and create engaging content. Number 2, threads. And number 3, we gotta pay Elon Musk that $8 a month rent.